Hello, my name's John Thorne from Thorny Motorsport, and this is part 2 of our last video we've done about how hard it was to buy a McLaren 720. Now, we don't normally do part 2, part 3 videos, but this one was interesting in as much that it was a video that we shot some time ago but released recently about how we struggled to find a good McLaren 720 we wanted to buy. The story started off as trying to buy our old car back. That wasn't going to work, so I went looking around the marketplace trying to buy a 720 Spider and came across a lot of cars that had so many issues I was struggling to find to buy one. So fast forward to now, we still haven't bought one yet. Although the part 3 of this video may well answer that question. Now, the part 2 of this is that in the first part, I mentioned the details and issues I found with the cars from a variety of dealers, which I haven't named and I'm not going to name. But it was interesting to me how difficult it was to find a good car didn't need huge amounts of work doing to them. And I will end the video by saying how I felt sorry for people trying to buy a McLaren. Now, fast forward to now, I am now standing next to one of the exact cars I rejected from 3 months ago. So what happened is that the owner saw part 1, rings me up and said, pretty sure I bought the car that you're referring to in that video. And I have to say, I am disappointed with my purchase. Now, I'll be really open here. I felt quite sorry for this guy. Okay, I researched these cars, drove around the M25, looked at the cars, and they all had so many problems. I thought long and hard about releasing videos straight away along the lines of don't buy one of these cars. But I have to be careful what I do and what I say in the UK, especially because we know nearly all the McLarens here and we're in possession of information which in many legal regards we're not allowed to share. And I thought to myself, I can't release it. For all I know, the problems that I find will be resolved for the new owner. Now, this particular car came from a particular dealer and I specifically sat down with them and I recorded it. It's in the first part of our videos. And I explained that in the road test and the brief investigation of the car I was there, I discovered a leaking shock. I discovered that I thought the accumulators were failed, that there was a misfire, and there was corrosion. Okay, those are the 4 things I reported to the selling dealer that, in my opinion, all needed resolving. I made an offer on that car, taking into account that work that was required, and they rejected that offer. The car, and before I go on this, I have spoken to the owner of this new car. He is completely in agreement with what I'm doing here. He has allowed me full authority to discuss his car and all the numbers thereof because he feels something worth sharing. And before we go too negatively, there is almost a good answer, end result of this story. So he contacted me and said, I bought this car. What's the issues? I said, I've had no end of problems. I still haven't got the car back. I've had it for 2 months, never gone right. Engine management lights on, misfires, leaks, all kinds of things. And I said to him, so I'm really sorry about that. I feel bad about this because I saw this car and I said, bring it in and I'll give you a free inspection. No charge, complete look over. Normally charge 500 quid for this. Complete look over, just have a look at my give mine a rest. Anyway, so the car comes in. It was advertised for 149,950 and this guy paid 149,950. Okay, I offered 140, I believe it was, taking into account the work that needed to get done. They said no. So you pay full retail price for this thing. Now, I reported leaking shock, accumulators, corrosion, and a misfire. Okay, now I've got the inspection sheet here, and what we have found was a leaking shock. We found a misfire. We found corrosion, and we found, in actual fact, here's where I got it wrong. We found the car has 765 accumulators on. Now, I've done previous videos about this. The existing previous accumulators for 720s are a diaphragm type, and they're very, very good. They last about 5-6 years, but they do wear out. The 765 and the 750 have a piston type accumulator. So rather than having a diaphragm inside, it has a piston inside. And in theory, they're supposed to last a lot longer. The jury's still out because they've been out for a couple of years. The downside to them is they are nowhere near as compliant. I mean, they really are significantly stiffer and a lot less compliant in the softest mode. I'm not talking about handling here, I'm talking about ride. And I always say, they're crap. I even videos said they were shit in comparison. I'd rather put 721s on. So I road tested this car and I said the accumulators are replacing, okay, because I forgot to check. As it turns out, it's got 765 accumulators on. We've even got a tick box on our inspection sheets where I actually say suspected 765 accumulators. And in one road test I can tell. Okay, it's that big a difference. So this car has 765 on there. So I can't really beat up the dealer about me saying the accumulators weren't very good. They're just the newer version which are crappier. Okay, so that's one thing. But we've gone through it all, and the misfire we're looking at in terms of a spark plug and a coil. The shock is still leaking. So I reported this to the dealer and I said, look, the shock's leaking, it's liquid in my hand. And what we think has happened is they have taken a shock, they've cleaned it all up, no evidence of leaking, sold the car. In their defense, if we have a suspected leaking shock in the car, we would do the same. We would clean it all off to make sure it's not old residue, road test the car, and if it's wet again, the shock has failed. That second bit I don't think has taken place. Okay? So we've taken this report, we have a full report, gave it to the owner, and the owner has taken our report and forwarded it to the supplying dealer saying, here's a report on the car. He'd already been in lots of conversations with them because he's obviously had this car for 2 months and hasn't been driving it at all, because it's already been back to, from my story, one independent who missed the shock and missed other things as well, and supposedly 2 other dealers who also missed this shock. Now, I'll be honest with you, we're not that good, all right? I don't have X-ray vision. And if we had one independent and 2 other dealers miss something, the hairs on the back of my neck go up a little bit, maybe not quite all these are happening. However, the positive side of this is I had a conversation with the senior guy of this supplying dealer. Very friendly conversation. He said, look, John, got the car in, want to look after a customer, what's it going to cost? Okay, so we split the cost down and said, look, shock, fixing the misfire, resolving, obviously the accumulator is 765, so tough. I'd rather have the 720 I was on, but there's no point changing them. And there were some other issues that we highlighted which are still in negotiation. So that is why this is part 2. There may well be a part 3. So the total amount of work we found on the car to resolve, plus the corrosion, so there's bits of corrosion there, but it wasn't very bad, it was pretty minor, was just under £9,000. So my offer of 140,000 for a car that's 149 was pretty much bang on the numbers. Okay, but this guy paid 149,950. And now, in theory, he has nearly £10,000 bill on that car. Okay? Now, fortunately, the supplying dealer has come back, chatted to us, and they've agreed to pay for some of these items. They've agreed to pay for a new shock. They're agreeing to pay for the misfire investigation. There's still a couple other things which are arguably wear and tear, and I've been quite supportive of the dealer saying, look, you can't expect everything, these sort of things. So we're in that conversation now. But thus far, credit to the dealer, and I'm still not going to name them. I don't think it's fair, both positive or negative, that they have come back and say, you know what, John, you're right. We did have our spit look at it. They don't have a workshop themselves. They sent it to somebody else, and the other people missed it as well. Now, let's be generous and say that's what happened. Okay, you know, some people miss these things. We haven't. We don't miss anything. And we found this thing, and the dealer is saying, John, send me the bill. We will pay for the customer. So this is good news. This is a happy ending. So the guy who's bought this car and paid 149 for it is going to get £3,000 or £4,000 worth of work that we're going to do for free. Okay, so in real life he's down to 145 or whatever it's going to be per process. So that's quite a good thing, and kudos to the dealer for stepping up, and kudos for the owner for sticking with the car. Because I said to him, because he said, is this a lemon, should I just get rid of it? And I said, no, I drove this car, and such as the problems I found, it is a good car. I would have bought it. I tried to buy it. So I can't go back and say it's a shitty car, because it's not. So the net result of all this, he's going to get the work done and have a good 720 at the end of it, which I'd be happy to own myself. There are still a couple of bits that are still in negotiation. One being the manifold, the downpipe heat shielding, which I've done another video about very recently. And that's quite a recent issue. That isn't something that's really well known. We're the people sort of pushing it forward. Is that those manifold heat shields are loose on this car. They're rattling around. It generates a rattle and potentially generates a fire risk long time down the line. We're still discussing that because the supplying dealer is saying, well, at the moment, there's nothing wrong with it. Some argument there. The new owner is saying, will it get worse? And I'm saying, yes, it will. So in this impasse there, and I believe between the three of us, the supplying dealer, and the new owner, will resolve that matter for them. But I thought part 2 of this was worth at least saying to people, it's not all bad. Yes, is it wrong that this car went to the customer with this work outstanding on it? Yes, it absolutely was. However, now it's been discovered and found. Is the supplying dealer stepping up and trying to look after it? Yes, they are. That's a good thing. The fact we have to go through this laborious process and it needed someone like us to investigate the car and step up and help out is the frustrating bit. Because all of a sudden, and I said this how many times I've said, I would never buy a McLaren without inspection. Okay, and this is a good example. Bought the car, owned the car, subsequent inspection, finds load of work. And then you're arguing who pays for what. Is the warranty going to cover it? Is the dealer going to supply it? Have I got to pay for it? All these different things. Get the inspection done first. If it means someone like us can't do it in time and you lose the car, lose the fucking car, all right? Don't push to get the car you desperately want without knowing what's good about it, all right? It's a classic example of this. The good news is, part 2, it's got better. We'll either sort this guy's car, hire it from him, he'd be very, very happy. Dealer's going to lose a bit of money in the car, which arguably it should have done when he inspected the car in the first place, but that's the business model of supercar sales, it seems. And so we have a positive outcome. Part 3 will hopefully resolve the last bit of it, because there's still some bits here still to discuss, but I'm confident between the three of us acting almost as a negotiator for them, to get a good car to the customer, and he can go out to the pub and say, I got my 720, love it, great, problem free. All right, some good news. Okay, so part 3 hopefully will happen. But part 2, I thought was worth some positive news, say that there is a positive outcome of some of these things. I still don't manage to find a buy a car, but part 3 might explain why, because that all went tits up last week as well. Okay, any comments, etc. about all this, please let us know. We're happy to hear the conversation about it. And as far as we're concerned, the more the merrier in terms of information. So please help. Okay, cheers.